How do I think Broberg and Holloway will fit in with the St. Louis Blues? Well, let's talk about it here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and a good afternoon to you all, and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk about evaluating how I think Broberg and Holloway will fit in with the St. Louis Blues. Doug Armstrong's plan. We heard how confident he sounded. Why is that? And of course, grading the offseason as a whole, not just with what happened with the offer sheets, but as a whole. So a lot to get into on today's episode of Locked On Blues. But now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I hope everybody is having a great day. So just to kind of reiterate on Broberg and Holloway, the Blues signed defenseman Philip Broberg and forward Dylan Holloway to a 2-year contract because Edmonton essentially declined the offer sheet. Broberg signed for a total of $9.60 million and Holloway signed for $4.58 million, and this was over the course of 2 seasons. So let's talk about what do we think they can actually do for the Blues. So with little given away to Edmonton, by the way, the Blues have an opportunity to have 2 relatively good players play for them on the blue line and, of course, on offense. Let's go talk about Broberg and why I think that he is actually going to perform better than people might think. So I know that he was upset with the Edmonton Oilers around January and wasn't really executing his best hockey, so to say. And I get it. I get the concerns right away. He hasn't played enough games. I get it. Okay? Not denying that. But again, he is young and it still allows him time to grow within his game. He did a good job in the AHL. But what do I think he's going to do here with the St. Louis Blues? Well, for one, I think that if you're looking to put him in a pair, maybe I would go second or third. Definitely not first pair. I know that there are some people that say that. I think that's a little bit foolish, to be honest. I think that you're setting high expectations without seeing the product. We still need to see how he performs in training camp. And I feel like that's another thing, too, that we're forgetting is that the Blues have training camp preseason. They do have steps before they play a regular NHL game. I know that it's September now, so it's getting a little bit more exciting, right? It's like hockey's finally coming, and I get that. But at the end of the day, we really need to make sure that this is a player that we can trust on the blue line that's going to execute in the right ways. You know, if you want to talk about our best defenseman, it's Colton Parayko without a doubt. And I know Parayko's, in his 30s, a little bit older, and I understand, he's not going to be here forever, but this is a great opportunity for Colton Parayko, even if he doesn't play with Broberg necessarily on the same pair, to mentor him and help him out and give him some guidance. I think that this is a way for a veteran player like a Parayko, even a Ryan Suter, to really take Broberg under their wings and to give him that guidance and to make sure that he can perform to his best ability. I think that the Blues have an interesting mix between young and older players. And I think that Broberg, he brings speed, he brings energy, and there's a lot of pros to his playing ability. However, what I will say is this: he needs to get stronger on defense. I do like him a lot, and I think that he can bring a lot, but he needs to be more aggressive. He needs to skate faster. And these are things, again, it takes time, right? You're not going to go on the ice right away and just be this excellent, two-way defender. I don't think that's possible for many players to be like that right away. While he does show the skills that he can do that, again, we've seen him in limited NHL games. Yes, he did pretty well in the playoffs, I would say. And I think that's why I am excited about him. Is it going to elevate the Blues defense? Yes, it's definitely not a negative. And that's a good way to look at this. It's not a negative. It is a positive. And you're going to see positive, right? You're going to see a lot of positive playmaking decision skills by Philip Broberg. And, he's excited to be here with the Blues. He said numerous times, "I'm very excited to be a Blue." And, he says that he wants to really focus on working out and getting ready for the NHL season. And again, the Swedish influence, by the way, because by the way, Philip Broberg is Swedish, of Alex Steen, it's something that's really good within this organization. And, this was something that Broberg even talked about, that a lot of players that he knew that were also Swedish that played for the Blues shared very positive experiences here. And I think that at the end of the day, it just didn't work out with Edmonton, right? He said, "I have nothing bad to say about the fans at all, the teammates, nothing. I'm very happy about my time in Edmonton." I thought that was a little bit interesting. I'm not looking for drama. I'm just saying in general that he didn't really say the management, but again, I understand maybe not the best exit, but I do understand that, he had a great time in Edmonton. He got to play with some of the best players in the NHL with, Connor McDavid, Draisaitl. Like, Edmonton's a pretty cool team to play for, So they do have a lot of talent on that end. And I know that, there is some worry about how his behavior might be a factor, but I do think that he wanted to get paid more money. He got paid more money than I think he should have gotten paid, which I think we can all agree on. However, on the flip side, I do think that this is going to be a very beneficial situation for Philip Broberg and the St. Louis Blues. Now let's go talk about Dylan Holloway. Now, you might remember his goal against the Canucks in the playoffs because it was a pretty sick goal, if I do say so myself. 5-hole was a beaut. But I think Holloway, if we're being realistic, he would be on the third line or on the fourth line. I don't see him being, a top six player. And again, it's not a knock on him. I just don't see it there yet. And, Jake Neighbors had a really great season last season, and he plays really well on the first line and the second line too. He played well in that too. Jake Neighbors was all over the place, but I think for Holloway, sticking him and improving the third or fourth line would be major. I think that the Blues have a lot of really strong talent on the first two lines, and then there's a big drop, right? I know that there are some players that were on those lines that may not be here, or they may not even make the opening night roster, if I'm being honest with you. I think the competition heading into this training camp is going to be a lot more intense. But I do expect Dylan Holloway to be at least on third line. If he's on the fourth line, will I be shocked? No. Am I going to throw a fit? No. I will not be surprised. I think the only way I would be surprised if he got like healthy scratch and didn't make opening night roster, I think I'd be like, what are we doing? But I do expect him, however, to make the opening night roster. Dylan Holloway is an interesting guy. A lot of talent. Again, both of these players were first round draft picks, which does say something to at least me on how Doug Armstrong is thinking and approaching this offseason. That, he's getting these guys that were truly developed in Edmonton and now they're ready to play here in St. Louis. It is a beautiful formula for the Blues. Doug can't draft. He can't do this. Okay, well, it's not my problem that you're upset that our GM made some pretty good decision making. But heading back to what I think Holloway can do and expectations of him, I, you know, I think he's going to hold his own. I don't necessarily think he's going to be the superstar that everyone's going to look at and be like, this is the best player, No, Robert Thomas is still the best forward. There's no denying that. Boosh, Kyrou even. I think Jordan Kyrou gets completely underestimated, which bothers me a lot because I do love Ruzi and I think that he is a good player. But I do think, however, again, it's just one of those things where I just see Holloway being on that third line. And last season, he played 38 games for Edmonton, scored 6 goals. So this season, let's go say hypothetically, he gets dressed for every single game. Maybe a 21 goal season for Holloway, um, which isn't awful. It's just not, it's not great, but we haven't seen enough out of him. And that's my whole point. we need to see him play more, and then we can make a more rational decision on how we think he's gonna do this season. So, I am curious to see on how Dylan Holloway will do, but I know that he is just as excited about being a part of this organization here in St. Louis. Because when Dylan Holloway was asked, he even said that, he likes he's gonna be getting some more opportunity with the Blues. Edmonton had a lot of star power up front, which will be impossible to move the guys from their spots. So again, this is another thing is that Holloway can acknowledge in Edmonton are you going to break the top 6? Definitely not. Again, Edmonton's top 6 very talented players. So it would be very difficult for anyone that's not a superstar to break the top 6. Again, this is a first round draft pick. It's not like you're talking about a guy that you got in the 3rd round. Like this is still a very good player for Edmonton at the time. But I do think that with the talent that Edmonton has, he's right. He won't break the top 6. Now, Edmonton's problem is that they're a little bit older and they need to get younger, and the Blues are focused on getting younger. Well, the Blues are also not cup chasing at the moment. So there is a little bit of time that the Blues, I don't want to say can waste, but can take that time to develop their players, unlike Edmonton. And I'm going to tell you all about Doug's plan. But first, I want to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday out of market game. For us, that's like all games. And all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook. Listen, I love my football season. I don't know if anybody does fantasy football or anything like that, but it's so much fun to bet when it comes to football. And I can list you my 1 million parlays, my futures, anything like that. But if I were to give you a future, I would say the Philadelphia Eagles have them as one of the teams going to the Super Bowl. And who will they be facing? Well, I have a feeling it might be the Baltimore Ravens. I really do like Lamar Jackson. I do. And I think that, the 49ers, I know that, yeah. And then you have the Chiefs, you have the Bengals, you have all these teams. Eagles, Ravens, Super Bowl, lock it. Futures, baby, futures. All right. Oh man, I could go on a whole rant about that, but let's go keep it Blues related here on Locked On Blues. So, Army had a lot to say about the offer sheet to Edmonton. It was reported that I wouldn't have done this to Kenny Holland. Just pause right there. Yes, he is friends with Kenny. Continue on. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Quite honestly, I would do it to my mother if she was managing the Oilers. My job is to take care of the St. Louis Blues' fans and organization. So let's just digest for a second because, again, Doug's plan is to get younger. So he does this double offer sheet to the Edmonton Oilers, right? Stan Bowman getting completely screwed over on this one, being very new with the Edmonton fans, which I'm sure are really thrilled with him. But, Doug said that he would have done this to even his friend, his mom even. Do I think that? No. I think that he just doesn't like Stan, and this was kind of like, hey, see what I can do? But it is interesting, though, what he did say about Kenny, right? Because if you think back to Kenny, Broberg was actually his first draft choice in the 2019 NHL entry-level draft at 8th overall. And, fans were a little upset about Kenny at the time, right? Because Trevor Zegras, Cole Caulfield, they were still available. But, here's the thing. The Oilers got a talented defenseman, 6'3", can skate, and is unbelievable on the power play. So I think that the fans were like, oh, this is fine. This is a good guy. And he became one of their most promising prospects, right? Doug Armstrong doing this. I don't want to say it's the word savage, but it definitely does feel like He was like, "Hey, Stan, did not like you in Chicago. I'm gonna just remind you who the real leader of the West is." But anywho, Doug continued on, obviously. If there is a GM code not to do offer sheets, no one emailed it to me. What a quote by Dougie A. This is why I like Doug Armstrong, honestly, because he is funny. Um, so Doug went on and continued and basically said, "We have a lot of pieces now and we have to build the puzzle. Excited to have Alex seen looking to get this set up for Alex." So Doug's plan is to get younger, right? But it's also to make sure that Steiner is set up in a good position. For those that don't know, in a couple seasons, Alex Steen will take over as GM for the St. Louis Blues and Doug will step aside. I think that Doug acknowledging, hey, this is going to be very beneficial for Steen. I'm going to be helping Steen out is just kind of another reason as to why maybe Doug does deserve more credit than we give him. I think that the St. Louis Blues team the past couple of seasons, yeah, it's been rough, right? But Doug knowing, hey, we have time now to develop these players, and that is a set plan. He's not looking at this saying, oh, yeah, no, this is fine. I'm just going to kind of have mediocre seasons and then Steen can deal with it. He is setting Alex Steen up for success. And I think that just goes to show the kind of person that Doug Armstrong is. I think in anything in life, it's so easy to get focused on how will this make me look? Instead, Doug Armstrong is looking, how will this make Alex look? How can I help out Alex? Because he is that kind of guy that wants the Blues to be successful. GM or not GM, he does care about this organization. And I think that just goes to show. Doug said that he wants this young core to really shine through and develop and, be kind of a big deal. And right now, looking at the St. Louis Blues, you have 12 players 25 years of age or younger that were drafted in the first round, which is kind of a cool statistic, right? It's definitely a younger team, which brings me to this point. I think besides, obviously getting Adam Yurachek in this year's draft in the first round, who I'm a huge fan of, by the way, I gave. You know what? Do you want to see my one-on-one interview with Yurachek? Because I do think it is kind of a cool one-on-one interview that I had with him. I'm going to play for you my one-on-one interview with Adam Yurachek because he is a very promising player that I think will bring a lot to this team. So take a listen to my one-on-one with Adam Yurachek at the Las Vegas Draft. So can you describe to me what it feels like to be a St. Louis Blue?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I'm really happy to be in this organization, and before the draft, I've had a couple of meetings with the guys, and I really like this organization. I'm really happy to be there.
And obviously today is your birthday, so talk me through that. When your name was called today, what was that feeling like for you?
Yeah, I really don't celebrate my birthday today because I was left, but yeah, it's crazy to be drafted on my birthday. Yeah, and when I got drafted, it's pretty amazing feeling, and I really enjoy it.
And can you tell me what your strongest skill sets are defensively that fans can look forward to seeing?
Yeah, I think I'm two-way defenseman, so I can play the both sides and be like I can help in both sides my team, and yeah, I'm pretty aggressive player, so when I play, I put 100% of me to gain a win. So yeah.
So there was Adam Yurachek, two-way defenseman, out. Didn't go to rookie development camp because of a knee injury, but very promising, which is why I do believe that he fell a little bit in this year's draft. I just want to say, for bragging purposes and bragging purposes only, I called this. I did say the Blues were going to draft him. So for me, I was excited about that one. But yes, Yurachek is one of those players that is going to bring a lot to the Blues. But again, we have Dvorsky hopefully going to make the team this season. There is so much promise with these younger players. And I think that is where the excitement kind of kicks in, right? It's where you really think about the bigger picture of the St. Louis Blues team. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs this year? I do. I'm confident when I say that. I think they will. Do I think they're going to win the cup this year? No, I'm not, delusional, right? But I can say I do see the bigger picture. And for the St. Louis Blues, the bigger picture is this being a successful team long term, not just for one season, win the cup and become irrelevant. It's to continue to win the cup, continue to be cup contenders, and stay relevant. And I think that was the problem. And I don't want to say it was a drop off, right? Because that seems a little harsh. But there is a little bit of well, the Blues won the cup, and now it's 2 consecutive seasons without making the playoffs, which I have seen people say, and that does annoy me just because I know the St. Louis Blues team is a lot more than, 1 cup and being done. So just a little bit more respect to the St. Louis Blues, okay? I do want to let you know that you should be following me on Twitter, aka X, at Locked On Blues, to stay up to date with all of your St. Louis Blues information. I am definitely in Europe by the time this video is going up. So I will not be tweeting. So if you're like, oh, this account doesn't tweet, I'm out of the country, okay? Like, I'm not in America right now. So please understand that while, the Twitter account might look down, not when it comes to regular season, and I will be attending a lot of games, different moves I'll be making for my own self. So definitely look forward to that. But yes, make sure to follow Locked On Blues and hit that subscribe button down below. I'm sure I'll have a bunch of notifications when I come back. What is she talking about? I don't agree. Why aren't you talking about this? Blah blah blah. I'm in Europe. Okay. That's so cool to say, knowing like I'll be there as I'm doing this, as I'm okay. But, anyways, let's go grade the Blues off-season moves for this off-season. Last off-season, I know it wasn't so exciting, and I get that. When do you count the off-season? I kind of count it like after the regular season ends. So let's go talk about Scott Perunovich. So in June 19th. I was about to say June of 2024. I'm like, wait, this past June. June 19th, the Blues signed Scott Perunovich to a 1-year contract. Okay. And then I already shared my thoughts on that. I was a little surprised. I know it's not that much money for what it was. Okay. June 28th, right before the draft, the Blues promoted Steve Ott to associate coach and named Claude Julien assistant coach, which I did like a lot. I do like Steve. Okay, draft day, I believe this was. Or day before this was night 1, I think. The Blues got center Alexander Texier from the Columbus Blue Jackets for a 2025 4th round pick. Then second day of draft or whatever, maybe it was, the Blues acquired future considerations from the Pittsburgh Penguins for Kevin Hayes and a 2025 second round pick, which we ended up getting back, by the way, the pick, not Kevin Hayes. June 30th. Extended qualifying offers to restricted free agents, to Nitika Alexandrov, blah, blah. July 2nd, acquired Fosca from Dallas in exchange for future considerations. Signed David. Why does it say David Juracek? His name's Adam. Wait, did ESPN get this wrong? Well, anyways, Juracek got his 3-year entry-level contract and agreed to terms with Pavel Buchnevich to a 6-year contract extension. I am so curious. Did ESPN get this wrong? Or his name's Adam. Now I'm like, David, oh, you know who David is? He's with Columbus. Maybe they mixed them up. I think that's why. Do better, ESPN. Anyways, so that all happened in July. Nothing else happened in July. Summer, summer, summer. Oh, so boring. Blah blah blah. And then August 13th, acquired 2025 second round pick and 2026 fifth round pick from Pittsburgh in exchange for they just swap picks. Boring. August 20th, acquired Holloway and Broberg. And then August 23rd, signed defenseman Quentin Burns to a 3-year ELC. So how would I grade this Blues' offseason? I'm a little disappointed in ESPN for getting Juracek's name wrong. Your ESPN. Anyways, I would give this offseason a B minus. Okay. I think that, adding in Texier, Foxa, um, Suitor, all solid, but nothing to make me go, whoa, this is awesome. But I think I think the excitement of the offer sheets is maybe why I'm still a little bit excited and happier. But I would say B minus. I mean, you're getting two really great prospects, not giving up much with Holloway and Broberg. And I just feel like overall, you know, pretty good offseason for the St. Louis Blues. All right, I will talk to you next time here on Locked On Blues. And like always, let's go Blues.